Welcome back to another day of Kartrider Drift League. We're in our 7th day of main stage matches here. My name is Wolf. I'm with State today. And we've got some good matches coming at you guys. 2 team matches and a solo competition as well.
Yeah, back to the weekend format here after we had those 3 team matches on Wednesday. And it should be a treat, too. We have Sensation kicking off things against ReBoot. Looking forward to watching that match. You know, Sensation, one of those teams that coming into this league had a lot of talk about them potentially making it to the playoffs, but the way things have gone so far, not too sure if they're going to be making it, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, some tough opponents to be sure that they faced so far as well, so we'll have to wait and see how they perform today because it's a matchup that is very important for them. Here is our overview of the tournament. You guys have probably been following, but if you haven't, we have 8 teams going into a regular season where the top 4 will, of course, move on to a double elimination format. You can see the prize pool, of course, listed there on the right.
Yeah, 40 million Korean won for first place, 20 million for second, 10 million for third, and so on. And that 40 million, just shy of 40,000 US dollars, is here. We got to look at the standings right now. And I mean, for me, coming into today, the main storyline is, can anybody stop the FREECs? Because, I mean, they just plowed through Live Sandbox. Granted, it wasn't Live Sandbox at their full strength on Wednesday, but this team just seems unstoppable.
Yeah, they really do, and it's a little bit unfortunate that we won't get a rematch between those 2 teams until postseason, so it's going to be a while before we actually see Live Sandbox face them potentially at their full strength, so it's going to be very difficult for Live Sandbox to even catch up in the standings because Chorong and FREECs actually have that win if they continue to do well. Not an easy opponent today in Planet. That'll be our second matchup, but our first matchup, as you mentioned, is Sensation, really trying to bounce back, and They took that loss to Finale, which is a match that you really needed to win so desperately, and ReBoot's a similar opponent here.
Yeah, Sensation, they've been doing all right in speed mode, but so far, item mode has just kind of been, their Achilles heel so far, so we'll see if they're able to turn that around here against ReBoot. We would like to see, I mean, personally, I want to see an ace match, but if you're a Sensation fan watching from home, you really want to see them tighten that up. They've been one of the worst teams coming into, what is this, day 7 now. Yeah. When it comes to item mode. And of course, also, we are done with a round of 32 for solo matches. Round of 16 for the individual tournament begins today. That will be the 3rd match of the evening as Wolf, I think we're getting ready to introduce our players here on Team Sensation.
Yeah, Sensation coming out here, a 4-man roster, no specific item ace. Guard is the hybrid role, so it does kind of do some of the shot calling you would expect in that mode. But a team that really had a lot of hype and high expectations coming into this because Hojun is on this roster, a player with so much experience, so many titles under his name. But even he has been struggling as of late, and the team needs to regain form because they're running out of time to turn this season around.
Yeah, this is really, it's hard to say this even though it's only, the 4th or the 3rd match for these teams, but it kind of feels like it's do or die time for these guys. If they want to make it to the playoffs, you can't walk away with another loss here today, especially if you're Sensation. Yeah. You do not want to start the league 1-4 if you want to crack that top 4 spot. And ReBoot, they're in the same boat right now. They've only played 3 matches so far. 1-2 is their record. They want to tie that up, go even with a 2-2, and potentially get into a position where they can catapult themselves into the postseason.
It's exactly what they're looking to do here. We'll see if they can perform against Sensation that are struggling tonight. Maybe see if we'll see an ace match between these 2 teams. I think that's kind of the expectation. But I am casting with State today, and he hasn't gotten one yet, so...
Yeah, the only caster here at the KDL that has not yet had an ace match. But
Superstition is definitely not on your side right now.
Admittedly, though, I gotta say, if we're gonna have an ace match, I feel like Sensation versus ReBoot, one of the highest probabilities here. You see, I mean, overall, in speed, this team's been doing quite well. Hojinen, particularly the speed ace on this team, averaging 5th overall here in the team league when it comes to speed rank, as we see, their attacks per minute, their blocks, not quite as good as you would expect. Those were, of course, out of the 8 teams here, so Sensation all the way down, 7th out of 8th place in blocks overall, and only winning 25% of rounds in item mode so far in this tournament.
Yeah. This is a bit of a meme because of ReBoot's name sounding like robot, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a diss as well. We calling the players like bots, basically, but it's some underlying meaning here, of course, as ReBoot sounds close to robot, of course. And on ReBoot's side of things here, a team that I think oppositely of Sensation, didn't have a lot of expectations coming into this, but have actually kind of been overperforming, especially when you consider Luning's performance in solo matches as well. So there's a lot of really talented players on this roster, and I think that if they could win tonight, maybe there's a chance they sweep into that 4th place spot, you know, and take one of those postseason spots away.
It's possible. 2 of their losses so far in this league have been to Rocks and Live Sandbox, which are one of the stronger teams. You know, both those teams are in the top 4 right now, and they were able to dispatch Finale. So if they could come away with a win here, you know, that puts them in position with a 2-2 record of potentially cracking that top 4 spot, making it to the playoffs. Yeah,
and this is 3 players, of course, in the solo matches for round of 16. You guys have Speed fighting.
Yes, Speed, the runner there for Sensation. The lone player for that team standing in the individual league is a little bit of tit for tat there. Both these teams digging in just a bit.
Yeah, here are our speed track lists, of course, as we move into speed mode. We're starting things off on Terracotta Twister. We'll then move into Glacier Extreme Stadium and Bayside Bridge Run, Boom Hill Tunnel, and then finally New York Rally. So some bands here that, you know, you do often see: Destruction, Chaos, and Zigzag Timberland. Those are the bands that we saw from ReBoot. Some very difficult tracks, actually, to hit the highest skill ceiling on. So I think lowering it a little bit here in this match against Sensation.
Yeah, going for a bit of a simpler track list. Terracotta Twister, probably one of the more difficult ones coming into this. And the bands from Sensation going to be Mine Gold Rush and World Tour Boostwood, which I feel like Boostwood gets banned more often than not, man. At least maybe the days that I'm casting.
Yeah, no, Boostwood definitely is definitely a highly banned track. Bayside Bridge Run, also one that gets banned quite a bit. So we're going to see ReBoot play on that one. They chose Terracotta Twister first, as you mentioned. I think that's the toughest of our 5 in terms of piloting those really, really tough turns. So trying to get the hard part over first, it looks like.
The checklist here today for Sensation. So my Korean's not good enough to read that quickly, but a lot of fans here. Another packed crowd at the KDL. Everybody turning up in droves to support their favorite players, their favorite teams in this do-or-die match between Sensation and ReBoot. Let's go to World Tour Terracotta Twister.
We are off. It's our first track between these teams, Sensation and ReBoot, here in speed mode. And already, ReBoot with a pretty massive lead off the starting block.
Yeah, Lung and Ding in a nice position right there, right out of the gates. Positions 1, position 2, but Sensation right behind them. 3, 4, 6, 7 as they're starting to close the distance here with a little bit of team drafting.
Yeah, and Hojun and Guard really need to get into position here to challenge them right now, as Cosu is hot on their heels, and now that Kosu's actually gotten into the top 4, he can actually create quite a bit of disruption here, actually. And Hojun is going to be in big trouble if he actually can't pass soon here, because he's not the type of player who actually does very well in the middle of the pack. He's a speed ace. He wants to get out in the open very early on to get those tight turns. He hasn't been very successful at actually regaining ground so far this season.
Yep, gonna try his best to close the distance as all these players successfully navigating the interior section here on Terracotta Twister. We're about to get ready to go into lap number 2 with Hojun and Guard now shoring up the rear here for Sensation, 2nd and 3rd place. Speed and Percent, though, if they can start to close the distance, as we see now with Speed joining them here in the top 4, there's some big potential for Sensation to walk away with this one, even if they can't pass Luning.
Yeah, especially with the space now that Hojun has here in 2nd. Even if he can't pass Luning, as you say, the 2, 3, 4 is a win condition here for Sensation. So trying to hold on to this so desperately right now as Ding actually breaks into the top 4 himself now. So this is a very close race.
But Hojun Wolf, he's able to get 1st place right now with Guard right behind him. Guard doing some nice body blocking there on Luning. Luning actually getting caught against the wall, and that's going to be Hojun and Guard starting to run away with this one a little bit.
Yeah, they have complete control right now as Ding is trying to take some very aggressive inners here, but he won't be able to close the gap alone right now, and all they have to do is hold on to that 1-2, 200 meters to go.
200 meters away. I don't know if Ding's going to be able to close the distance, and no, it'll be a 1-2 finish here for Sensation as they take track number 1 here in speed mode in commanding fashion.
Yeah, there was one collision there that we did see from Cosu, I believe, and it ended up losing them a lot of control that they had when they had that 1-2 lock-in, and Hojun wasn't able to catch up for so long, but once they got back control, Guard was doing a great job of actually continuing to make sure there wasn't going to be any chance for Ding to pass, and Luning and Cosu got blocked out by Speed as well, so it became a situation where we saw the momentum change almost instantly in that one moment, and then they ran away with it. So very much a close race here, a close start, and just letting everyone know that this is going to be a close series, I think, between these two on speed.
Absolutely, and you know, Sensation, I have to give them the edge personally coming in here on speed. Hojin has been quite good, at least in Team League when it comes to these matches, as we saw him there, you know, didn't have the best start here on this track, was in the middle of the pack for a good duration of lap number 1, but was able to close it out there in the top 2.
There's that the collision I was talking about where Ding was knocked there, and then this was another moment here as well where Luning is not able to actually get up to where he wanted to be there. That's a bit of a tight corner there, and they're blocked out by speed. So 2 really good team plays there from Sensation to secure this first one.
Yeah, good team play there from Sensation, and this is something they need to do because, you know, they've been struggling in item mode. Speed mode here, this is where they want to bring it home. This is a must-win situation for them. Well, it looks like we are getting ready to go to Glacier Extreme Stadium for track number 2. And they're off here. Sensation Guard in the lead with Cosu right behind him.
Yep, Guard in Hojun really maintaining this early lead with Percent actually now in a great spot. He is the sweeper for this roster. It's his main role. So having this 1-2-3 setup with Percent in third is exactly what you want to have in an ideal situation with this roster. And Speed's moving up too. I mean, this is a first half of the entire standings are all Sensation first to fourth. Cosu challenging Percent now, but this is an ideal scenario, like I said, and breaking that top 3 is going to be so difficult now for ReBoot.
Yeah, we do see Percent drop back a little bit to 7th place there, but that's him trying to buy space for the pack leaders here for Sensation as we enter the hairpin turn sections right now. Hojin and Guard in the lead. Will Cosu be able to take some ground here with some tight drifting in the inner line? Is able to close into 2nd place. Hot on the heels now of Hojin.
Yeah, Speed trying to block him out there, but actually missed his chance. Didn't want to take that risk right before the hairpin turns, and is actually going to lose a lot of momentum as a result. So Cosu alone isn't going to turn this around for ReBoot, but it's a first step here. He needs to maintain that first, and Luning is going to have to close that gap. Look at Speed, though, blocking him out very aggressively.
Yeah, Speed doing his best to body block this 2-3-4 is the win condition right now for Sensation, and also with the lead that Cosu has over here on Hojin and Guard, that is not insurmountable, as we see Hojin actually almost taking that first place spot there. He's trying to draft as best he can while taking these inner lines just to close the distance, because if he's able to get that first place spot, Sensation's gonna be walking away with a win no matter the placements after that.
Excellent sweeping from Speed to this entire track, but now the momentum has been lost here. Cosu has maintained that first place spot. Luning jumping up to 3rd. Still Sensation in the lead here. 500 meters to go.
500 meters to go, but Loda and Ding rounding out the back. So ReBoot, Luning, and Cosu, they need to close the distance, but they are not going to be able to do it right now as Sensation with a 2-3-5-6 are not able to get that first place finish, but they will win the track with some nice teamwork there. I love the sweeping coming out of their middle players.
Yeah, and when you get to a position like that, when you have that much control in top 4, top 5, you can stop focusing on chasing the first place player and actually focus on preventing the rest of the team from closing that gap, and that's exactly what they did. And I thought that we saw a great effort from Speed that entire time. He ends up falling to 6th place at the ultimate finish here for his team, but what he accomplished for Hojin and Guard was really a lot of disruption, and Cosu was always threatening. Like, it actually looked very likely that if he had gotten a little bit more momentum, that they were going to be able to take it, you know? And unfortunately, the sweeping was too good, and they just barely get that extra point there.
Yeah, that teamwork is one of the main reasons why Sensation has been able to win a lot of tracks, a lot of sets even here in speed mode, is, you know, the running of Hojin and Speed, but also the flexibility of Speed to be able to identify the situation and be like, okay, I'm not the racer that's going to be finishing top 2 on my team. I'm going to play my role the best way I can. I'm going to sit back here along with Percent and, you know, try to do some body blocking, try to induce some collisions, try and slow down the opposing players there on ReBoot, and that teamwork just worked to perfection.
So it's a great start here right now, and you know, you consider that both of these races were very close, but it does seem like the team play is much stronger for Sensation at this moment in time. So ReBoot are really going to need to, I think, get a better start out of the gates, because that has been the issue. Both of these starts were very good for Sensation. They were able to get the setup they were looking for. ReBoot need to bounce back now as we head into Village Bayside Bridge Run. Off we go. This is the last chance for ReBoot to start bringing it back. They need a reverse sweep in order to take speed mode.
Yep, the pressure is on right here for ReBoot, and right out of the gate, once again, Sensation taking the top 3 spots, and even their sweeper percent here in 5th, closing the distance on Cosu with some nice drafting, and Sensation, I mean, what more can you say? Just right out of the gates, in such a commanding position, and ReBoot, they've got their work cut out for them.
You just can't ask for a better speed ace than Hojun in terms of kart rider history, his experience, right? And if he gets this first place spot given to him by some really great cutting right out of the gate, it's tough to catch up to this guy. He's just not going to make mistakes. He's going to play it safe, and he's got a great set of teammates behind him. So even if you see Ding break through, it's not alone enough, and they're going to actually have to take some risks. But look at what Percent is accomplishing here to actually create that disruption. He's basically sacrificing himself to disrupt 3 different players at once.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job of inducing collisions right there on the flank. Is going to slow down both Cosu and Luning. Back to his level, and with Sensation, Hojun, and Guard leading the pack right now. That is a win condition here for Sensation in that 23-16, as you see bottom left on the board. They have a bit of breathing room as well.
They certainly do, as Load is trying his best here to actually pass speed, and he's successful for the time being, but they need one more player up in these top 4 spots, so they're just not able to actually hold on to it right now. As finally, Ding is going to take the lead here. This is the chance that ReBoot was looking for.
We'll see how long it's able to last, though, as it is a 3v2 over here at the front of the pack. 2 laps left to go. Ding and Low doing their best to try and, you know, zone Hojun, Guard, and Speed out, but with 3 players hot on their tails, will they be able to hold on? You know, once
so close.
It is a win condition, Wolf.
Yeah, it certainly is. And if they actually, look at that attack from Ding. That's it. That was so sick from Ding. He actually cuts back and blocks him out here as we go to those zigzag turns at the final moment.
Man, I thought Sensation had that one. Even at the very end, when Load and Ding passed, I was thinking, okay, well, surely Sensation will be able to recover. It is a 3v2. They're hot on their heels. They're drafting, you know, they're going to close the distance. In those final turns, they will be able to cause the disruption they need to secure the points they need to win the map and win the set. But no, Load and Ding coming through in the clutch by a hair there are going to go and force track number 4.
They certainly are. That was a very, very clutch play, though, from Ding just to secure that final moment there. Load as well, he's going to, of course, take that first place spot. And Load's attack to actually get past everybody that was blocking. He pushed through Speed and Percent. He was down low at like 6th place and was able to get all the way up to the top and break through some of the best team play that we have in Kart Rider. And I mean, look at this start here where you see Ding is actually pushed back here early. It was such a fantastic lead for Sensation, but later on, you end up seeing, you know, that one heroic run from Load, and that's enough disruption that allows them to actually then catch up. And Hojun actually had the exact angle he wanted to in that last moment, but he was completely blocked out.
Yep, certainly a bit of an upset there as ReBoot taking an unfortunate start and delivering in the finish. Going to 2-1. Will they be able to tie it up 2-2 as we go to Village Boom Hill Tunnel? ReBoot hoping to keep their speed dreams alive here as Luning, fresh out of the gate, is going to be taking that pole position. Guard right behind him, but Cosu and Ding, kind of a role reversal here with ReBoot leading the pack.
Yeah. Luning is also such a fantastic player. He gets control like this with Cosu, and if they can communicate well, I think this is going to be very difficult to break, especially when you consider Hojun and Speed are at the back. Speed has been one of the best players at contesting, you know, around 4th, 5th, 6th, and Hojun is the speed ace, but he's so far back right now that Guard and Percent are going to have to play a completely different game here in order to crack what is a great setup here for ReBoot right now.
Guard and Hojun doing a great job of both drafting and using these small collisions to gain ground, and actually Guard able to, just for a moment there, pass Luning as, you know, the top 5, top 6 racers here. Just a couple of fractions of a second separating them from 1st place and 5th.
Yeah, Speed is right on the tail of Cosu here. As Guard is doing his best to actually prevent a pass right now. The drafts are coming through. And this is where it gets really hairy here. And here you actually see some braking right now because this is so tight, how close all the racers are. They're actually slowing down so they don't get any collisions because that could be fatal.
Yeah, one of the racers there had a bad collision as we're coming here to the end of the track. Cosu and Ding right now in a commanding position, first and second place. Will they be able to deliver it? And no, actually Guard coming through in second place by a fraction of a second will deliver the points that Sensation needs. 20-19, Sensation wins. The speed set 3-1 in a photo finish. But man, ReBoot, Cosu and Ding there at the front of the pack, they really gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, and it's incredible how close it is because you're looking for a 2-4-5-6, and it's actually a dead tie between Speed and Ding in third place. This almost never happens.
Oh, wow.
118-346, they actually tied for third, but because of the 5th and 6th place finishes there for Sensation, they will win it by 1 point, but incredibly close finish there. And neither team was willing to take the crazy risk to drift there in those final moments because this was such a close race that if you run into any racer or the wall there, it's done, like it's doomed. And they barely were able to win it. I mean, really like 1 millisecond is the separation between these two teams right now in terms of having that extra point from third versus fourth. Could have turned this entire race around for ReBoot, but a tie for third, such a rare scenario, down to the millisecond.
Yeah, I mean, coming into that, I was just doing the play-by-play, and I could tell just by the racers coming across the finish line how close it was, but to actually have a tie, a frame-perfect tie right there, coming into the end. ReBoot, they really gave Sensation a run for their money in speed mode, and that's where Sensation is favored over here in this set. So now coming into item mode, this is where Sensation's been struggling. They are 0-4 in sets so far in this tournament in item mode. They're 4-12 in rounds in item mode as we get the track list up here. But, you know, ReBoot, they have a winning record. They haven't lost a set yet here in item. They're 6-5 in rounds. So you got to think that ReBoot, you know, you drop those speed maps, but this is where you're going to start to come back and force an ace.
Oh, absolutely. So let's take a look at what we're actually going to see. Brody's Gloom into Istanbul, then Mushroom Caves, Magma Cavern, and Pharaoh's Pass. London Knight and Cogwheel Crush are both taken away here by Sensation. Cogwheel Crush has a lot of volatility. It's a very, you know, we've talked about this track a lot here on the English broadcast, but it's one that you sometimes can create some unpredictable situations. But it's a little bit more surprising to see both London Knight and Gangnam Street Span, as they're very similar tracks, by opposite teams here. And then Polar Halfpipe is taken away. That is another one that's very volatile, very, very dangerous. If you make one mistake there, you could lose the entire race.
Yeah, and item mode, as we know it, is volatile as it is enough already, you know? It's not like speed mode. It's not about racking up points from track to track. It's all about who can cross that finish line first, who can deliver the wombo combo and have the perfect play calling to get your team across that finish line and deliver that win. As Wolf, we're getting ready to start item mode here. Factory, Brody's Group. Don't know why I call it Brody's Gloom. I guess he's getting married, but Brody's Gloom is where we started here on item mode. As we see some of our racers here, Sensation, Guard, and Luning just kind of slowing it down here at the bottom of the track, trying to pick up as many items as they can here. This is a two-lapper here on Brody's.
Yeah, Brody, you know, it's time for him to start thinking about it, though, I think, at some point. You know, he's getting a little bit older in years. Down. It's not all about repairs, you know. Sometimes you gotta find the right person.
I don't know why I get tongue-tied like that so often, man. I just get ahead of myself.
But it happens. You know, we got a lot of tracks to say properly. As Pure with a really nice dodge, actually, on that water bomb.
Yep, another water bomb coming in. Pure will dodge that. Actually, looks like he got caught by something else.
A missile looks like.
Yeah, a missile or a water wisp or something caught him there. But, you know, track number one, or lap number one, I should say, here in item mode. Usually, it's much more about posturing and kind of setting your team up to figure out, you know, what is the play really going to be there in the final moments in track number two, lap number two, as you finally start the second lap here, because oftentimes in item mode, if this is your first time watching, these tracks, they're won not by a second, not by 2 seconds, but by a fraction of a second, by a clutch magnet, by a clutch nitrous, by both of those being comboed, perhaps with an angel shield. And, you know, as things are shaking up, you see that starting to line up here. A lot of these players, they're trying to save those nitrous, those magnets.
The magnet nitro combo is what you're looking for. Pure actually hung back trying to get his magnet for a long time because he actually had double nitro for a really long time. But now that he has the combo, he's actually at the back of the pack here. So it looks like he's probably going to try to wait for the crazy disruption that's going to happen right now. If we get 400 meters in, there's the Angel to block the water balloon. Can he cross the finish line first? The question, he's so far back, is right now Luning is the one.
Yeah, Luning right there with a nice nitrous there at the end, and one of the cleaner finishes that we've seen here in item mode. Oftentimes, it's just pure chaos there coming down the track, but you know, ReBoot Luning just saving that nitrous for the final moment, and he's able to deliver the win there as ReBoot goes up 1-0 here.
Yeah, and something I've noticed from watching all of these item mode tracks that we've had throughout this tournament, you know, we've had 7 days now, or almost 7 days of kart rider here so far, is that it's usually the item ace they set up to actually cross the finish line and win. Banana, for example, is I think one of the quintessential examples of this, and you know, Finale sets him up really well. In this case, it looked like he was hanging back. He wanted to be the one to save, to make sure he has Magnet Nitro. But it's actually Luning who's able to get through with the Angel usage there. And unfortunately for ReBoot, they didn't have enough control in order to actually set up the play they were looking for. They wanted to use the water balloon to then set up the follow-up boost, but the Angel timing was too good. And there's just so many complex strategies that happen in like 3 seconds of time or less. And you can see here, there's the dodge on the water balloon. And Luning's able to cut across here. The magnet comes through. And Hojun feels like he's safe here, but actually still sneaks by.
Yeah, that was a smart play by Luning, kind of holding onto that nitrous until the final moment because he figured there was going to be a magnet coming through. If he did drop the nitrous earlier and then that magnet comes in, maybe he gets past there.
Yeah.
But instead, Luning able to deliver the win. And I mean, coming into this match today, we were thinking Sensation, they're the favorites here in speed mode. ReBoot, they're the favorites here in item mode. And so far, that's been the storyline. ReBoot now up 1-0. Only need to win 2 more tracks, Wolf, to force an ace match as our players are getting ready to load into track number 2. It's going to be World Tour Istanbul Sunset Plaza.
Off we go. As you mentioned, ReBoot just 2 rounds of items away from bringing us to an ace match here. Sensation, see what their plan is for this one. As early days on Istanbul, it's a track that, you know, on the first lap especially, you see a lot of item usage, a lot of attack steers, as basically players are just trying to efficiently cycle through to get that magnet combo with the Nitro. Hojun very firmly in first place right now, does have a shield he can hold on to. It's really going to be about lap 3 though, and what you can get before then.
Yeah, I mean, these positions right here with Hojun and Percent leading the front of the pack, those can shake up in just a moment. As we see Cosu immediately past them and still holding on to a nitrous and a magnet. As you said, you know, it all comes down to track 3. What is the team setup going to be? Who do you have in the back? Who do you have in the front? What items do you have at your disposal coming into those final moments? Because, you know, those magnets, they're so critical there because not only are you speeding up behind whoever it is that you're trailing, but also you're slowing them down. So it's a fantastic way of, you know, kind of changing the dynamic there at the very end.
Yeah.
And the way that we see these teams try to play around it, like Luning in the previous track, holding on to that nitrous until the very final moment. You know, the meta is slowly developing here in item mode at KDL.
Oh, for sure. And right now, Pure actually has stacked 2 Angels here, and it looks like he was, once he realized he had the first Angel, he was like, all right, my role here is not going to be the one to actually run to grab the finish line. I'm just going to be in the middle of the pack, scout out items here, and then drop this Angel down. And we're getting close to that 3rd lap right now. Guard also holding onto an EMP. Looks like he's going to swap it out here. And now he's got a magnet of his own. But we do need to see somebody end up with that. Okay, there's the combo for Cosu. Cosu has the magnet Nitro, and he's going to want to see if he can actually maintain top 4 without using either of these items for this final lap. Because if he uses either of those, he isn't going to have the combo he needs. Ding also holding on to this now. So there's a lot of chaos that's about to hit here. We're going to trade Angels in the last 500 meters.
Yeah, we are almost perfectly
this is insane.
Identical in terms of item setups here. We have everybody trying to hold on to 1 magnet and 1 nitrous, and then we have Pure and Guard for ReBoot and Sensation, both holding on to those Angel shields.
The Storm comes out here. This is actually going to create a Angel discrepancy. It's going to force one early.
The question is, though, will there be enough attacks? Because, you know, with this many players holding on to this as we enter the last 300 meters, Cosu getting magneted there by Hojun. Actually, Hojun's going to be able to take the lead here coming into the end. The UFO slows him down, but he will secure the map win there for Sensation, tying it up 1-1, as it was so close there, Wolf.
So close. And actually getting a UFO at the final moments like that is so rare. it's unheard of because that's the moment where you don't have anyone hanging back because everyone's just trying to rush to the finish line.
Right.
And those 2 storm clouds that came out actually took away a lot of those angels. So there's a tactic, just to explain this so people understand, like if you hang back, the lower your placement, say like 6th, 7th, 8th, the more likely you are to get magnets, the more likely you are to get storms and angels. So certain players hang back to try to use that aggressively as an attack. They both got storms to burn angels early, and then the magnets came through. Hojin's magnet usage was better there on that final turn. The UFO, if it came out like 1 second earlier, then actually they probably lose that map. But he was able to cross the finish line as it was coming through. Such an incredibly close one.
Yeah, and it was interesting the way that went down too, because you know there were so many players. It was such a tight field coming in here towards the finish line. Everyone, it felt like, was holding on to magnets and holding on to nitrous, where usually, you know, it's maybe 2 players that are gunning for that final push or 1 player gunning for the final push, and then we have everybody else going for the attacks. Instead, it was just those, you know, item aces hanging in the back, swapping out those angel shields, then going for, as we saw the UFO there, going for Thunderbolt, a Storm. And, you know, it's going to be Sensation taking a much-needed track win.
Yeah. Very important here. Let's see if they can keep the momentum going, though, as we are going to move into Forest Mushroom Cage for our next map of item.
Both these teams tied 1-1 here in item mode as the best of 5 turns into a best of 3. Sensation looking to pick up their first item mode set win to send them home with a 2-0 and continue the cast of curse of me not getting any ace matches. And ReBoot here, just 2 tracks away from forcing that ace.
Great shield here from Percent. He's going to pick up another one, so he's holding on to shield magnet. He's in a great spot because he can continue to actually force aggressive items to be used here and hold this shield. As long as he doesn't use his magnet, which he wouldn't need to, in first place, he's going to feel great. Gets a nitro here now after he pops that shield. And the homing wisp is actually going to hit his teammate with the storm cloud here. His magnet usage very early, actually.
Yeah, I know it's 2 laps, but 2 relatively long laps, so you're going to be cycling through those quite a bit. You certainly, or at least almost certainly, as nothing is guaranteed here in item mode, we'll be picking up another magnet, as we see now Luning and Cosu for ReBoot. Rounding up the top 2 spots here, but you know, we've seen these things shake up so many times. I'm not going to get baited and saying that ReBoot is in the lead, as we see now Percent here at first.
Yeah, I think this setup here is pretty good for Luning because he has the magnet and the booster, but unfortunately he's outnumbered right now. So they are going to have to use this Angel extremely well. Like Kosu's holding on to 2, and where they use that is going to be quite critical, as they actually almost really want an EMP here too, but he actually needs to use this at the exact right time, and then he can break through. Knows Hojin's trying to block him. Stormcloud comes out. There's the first Angel.
Yep, Angel gets popped there, so Sensation kind of in a commanding position right here as we're about halfway through lap number 2. Percent still leading the pack there with a Nitrous and a shield. Ding, though, hot on his tail. So another Angel is going to come out 500 meters from the finish line.
Yeah, Ding here has got that booster set, but does not have a magnet. No magnets here on the top. Pure, making a run for it.
Yeah, Pure's making a run for it, but will Sensation be able to close the distance? And no, it's actually Luning who's able to pass his teammate there for ReBoot.
Oh man, I'm actually, I feel like I can see, like, you know when you look at like one of those magic eye pictures and eventually you see the picture?
Yeah.
I'm actually feeling like I'm starting to really understand item mode, man. I'm like,
really?
I'm plugged in right now. Because I can see exactly the way they want to set Luning up, but he was in first for a really long time, right? But
yeah.
He drops back, and he allows everyone else to actually absorb all the pressure while he still holds on to his Magnet Nitro combo. Everyone else has to slow down. Storms come out, Angels get popped. And in the Chaos, Hojun's actually trying so hard to block, and so is Guard. They're both trying to block the approach because they know somebody's going to make the run with the Magnet Nitro. And Luning actually just scoots through, like, everybody at the last possible second when all that Chaos is going down. And like they set him up for success so incredibly well. These teams are legit good, man.
It's crazy.
I'm actually kind of slowly becoming an item mode fan. You know, it's I've always been a speed preferrer, but the item mode strategy is coming through. I think the teams are also just getting better at it as the season has progressed. It's crazy.
Absolutely does feel that way. And yeah, we'll see if we get an instant replay here of Luning kind of threading that needle, as you said.
Yeah, look at that. Just right over the top. He's such a good player. I think he's one of the least appreciated players that we have in this entire league. One of my big dark horse picks for solo as well, and he will be playing later on tonight. He's just so talented. Yep,
not the item ace there for ReBoot, but he is their hybrid player specializing in both speed and item mode. As we're getting ready to go to mine, Magma Cavern, will ReBoot be able to close it out and force that ace match?
Off we go. ReBoot just one win away here from forcing that ace match as Guard's going to hang back. Picks up an early Magnet, actually, early Magnet Nitro, so he's already set. Doesn't want to hold that this long.
Yep, both those Nitros and Magnets getting popped there as he's going to start closing the distance between him and the rest of his teammates.
Really unfortunate there.
Yeah. He's always precarious here in item mode. You dodge the water balloon, but then you get hit by something else.
It looked like he had actually avoided it, but the hurt box of it actually just stayed out a little bit longer, and then he was able to, or not able to, but he unfortunately was caught up in it.
Yep, Pure now leading the pack here with just a shield to his name, so don't be surprised if Sensation starts to close the distance on ReBoot just a little bit here as we enter lap number 2. And a continuously tight field here, you know?
Yeah. And we actually saw a successful EMP used there by Pure. He got UFO'd and he EMP'd it. That almost never happens, but it actually happened. So another UFO is going to come out here. Guard actually taking control right now, and it's the Magnet Nitros that are set up here. Really only Sensation has them right now. Like, ReBoot actually doesn't really have the setup they're looking for here. They are in control of first and second, but it's that final lap, so need to cycle through some more items.
We have about a lap and a half to go here for these players on ReBoot, so ideally they will be able to, you know, iron out those kinks in their plan.
Pure, he wanted to pick up a Nitro here. He does not have it. It's up to Ding, I think, to actually win this one for ReBoot if they're going to close it out and bring us to that ace match.
Yeah, it certainly does seem that way. Ding right now holding on to both the Magnet and the Nitrous. His Sensation, I mean, they've got a lot of Nitrous to their name right now. No Angel Shields on the field just yet, though, so there is potential that a UFO, as I see Luning holding on to that, might be able to shake things up. 500 meters now from the finish line, Wolf.
Yeah, 300 meters to go. Let's see if he can pull this off. Running out of items here. Cosu's pulled back, but Ding, he makes the run, and he does do it. ReBoot are going to bring us to an ace match. Fist bumps coming out. Man, Ding, he held it to the last possible second. They were running out of options, and it looked like maybe he's just going to get blocked out. And also on this track, too, you know, it's very narrow. So if you think you're just going to Nitro, just press Nitro the Magnet to win, it doesn't work that way because you're going to collide with the enemy players and then fall off the side or get pushed into the wall and lose that speed. You have to time both your Nitro and the Magnet really well. And I think that it's really difficult for a team like Sensation to actually be able to prevent a play like this. I think part of it's because they don't have an item ace. You know, they're a team that doesn't specialize in that, and they know that he's trying to make that run, but they're not specialized in actually blocking it and preventing it from happening. You know that Hojun's great at driving carts, but how great is he at actually blocking the Nitro Magnet advance is the question that I think we kind of had answered there. Not as good, right? So ReBoot taking it, bringing us to an ace, and we'll see who ends up playing this time around. Last time we did see Ding from them. He lost to Jong against Rock, so
yeah, we'll see who they're going to bring out. And I mean, that's an excellent point about the roster there for Sensation. They're running a 4-man roster. As we see most of these teams, whether they be pro teams or amateurs, they run 5 players because you know you want to have that one specialist that is going to come in item mode and play call it. I mean, that's half the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Is item mode here the team battle. So for Sensation, I mean, that lack of depth is kind of hurting them a little bit. We do have some teams that are able to make it work, like the Guangdong FREECs, but I mean, they're basically a team of aces.
Yeah.
You know, those are 4 players that could very well win the individual league in any potential KDL season we have this year. They're probably the favorites coming in to win the team league here as well.
I would say, like, at this point in time, you know, with the win over Live Sandbox, you know, that might be the finals we see later on. Of course, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we have kind of passed the halfway point here. Now, I think there's no doubt in my mind that Hojun is going to be the ace for Sensation, but I wonder if ReBoot are going to give Luning an opportunity to play instead of Ding, because last time we did see Ding, he failed. I would not be shocked if, considering how much Luning has progressed as a player even in these last 2 weeks, that maybe they actually give him a chance here. I think those are the 2 players I'm thinking about right now for ReBoot. We saw last time Guangdong actually was willing to give World the opportunity. He succeeded, and I think we are seeing kind of a shift here in terms of old legends versus newer rising stars. I'm excited to see what ReBoot's going to do here because both players are capable of taking out Hojun, the Emperor of Kart Rider. This is going to be sick. And you got your first ace match, State. It's happening.
Excited. I'm excited. You know, I'm glad Hojun should be coming out too. And
oh,
there he is. You called it, Wolf.
They did it.
You know, Sensation, this is a team that I think in the first, it was either the first week or the second week, they went to an ace match and they said in interview that they decided who was going to play for them by playing rock, paper, scissors. And I don't know if that's what happened this time. Maybe we're all just lucky here as fans, or maybe they're bringing out the big guns because as we said at the start of the show today, this is a must-win match for both of these teams if they want to make it to the postseason. So a lot of pressure on both these players right now. It all comes down to this. One track, two racers, a 1v1, Hojun versus Luning on Rickety Rails. I cannot wait, Wolf.
It is going to be so hype. Rickety Rails, the final track here in our ace match to decide which one of these teams is taking the W tonight.
And the ace match begins. Luning off to a nice start right there. The New York City tour bus trying to get some body blocking here on Hojun, doing his best to, you know, kind of keep him at bay. But Hojun, one of the legends here of Kart Rider, is not going to be held back. Some fantastic line. They're actually able to cut in between Luning and the wall and take an early lead. But Wolf, as you can see, we're going back and forth, back and forth. This is hotly contested.
Yeah, a lot of attacks actually between these two players, but the recovery has been fantastic. Because if you don't actually pull off the wall when you get shoved in like that, instantly, like, that's it. Like, the race is over. And they both recovered so incredibly well as Luning is in draft range here of Hojun. So, you know, it's very much going to just be who takes the tighter turns. So we've already moved to our second lap as Hojun actually has taken back the lead here now. And these are the turns right here where you can make the biggest difference happen if you can actually find that angle of attack. But the blocking has been so good thus far here from Hojun in the second lap.
Yeah, Hojun taking really tight lines here, desperately wants to get out of drafting range for Luning, and he's close to that at times, but, you know, I say that, and Luning with some nice drafting himself, cutting through right there, is hot on the tail here of Hojun, and, man, they are neck and neck. It is a fraction of a second. Hojun's body blocking is the only thing saving him from Luning taking first place right now.
Yeah, ooh, Luning actually taking a really aggressive cross here. There was a collision, but he recovers so quickly. But Hojun trying to get some momentum back here. This is insanely close. We're now on our final lap.
Everything on the line here as we're coming down the home stretch. Only a couple hundred meters left to go. Luning is still in first place there, the New York City tow bus. Hojun right behind him. Will he be able to pass? You see him desperately trying to draft, but the body blocking coming out from Luning is too much.
Look at him.
ReBoot in the ace match is going to win here against Sensation, the Emperor, taken down. And Luning with ReBoot is going to add another win to their standings.
All the defensive play there from Luning at the last moment was so clean. Hojun just took his foot off the pedal. You could see he was defeated in the player cam as well, right when the finish line is crossed. The dichotomy between the old and the new here in Kart Rider Drift. Hojun has got his head in his hands, and Luning is jumping up and down with his teammates. Such a close race. No real errors made from either of these players. You can see in terms of collisions, very few here. But man, it was all Luning at the end. And what a victory here for ReBoot when they needed it most. Now they're 2-2, and this could be the beginning of a rocket back to playoff contention here. And for Sensation, you're now going to have, at best, a negative result here. The best you can get in this regular season is 3-4, and that's assuming you win the rest of your matches. One of the big favorite non-pro teams here. You know, we talk about FREEC and Live Sandbox as the big teams. You've got Rocks, of course, the third. But Sensation is a group of talented players. They have Hojun on this roster, and now he's failed in an ace match here when it was so critical. And, I mean, their chances of going to playoffs are very slim now.
Yeah, but a thrilling win here for ReBoot. You know, as a young team, you can see all the energy, all smiles, so hyped up there by that win. Luning coming through in the clutch. So we got a recap here, 3-1 in speed going to Sensation. 1-3 in item, it has been their Achilles heel this entire tournament. And then they're in the ace match. Luning just with fantastic play, you know, coming into today. He's one of those players that says, you know, the New York City tour bus, that's the future. That is the future. And he did it right there.
Yeah.
In the ace match, you know, he took on the minecart, And with some just phenomenal defensive play, you know, he got that lead there at the end of track number 3, and he never gave it up.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point too, because I think some of what happened in those final moments might have been slightly attributed to the longer cart, actually. And
it's possible.
You know, it almost makes me want to go back and watch it. And I definitely will when I get home, take a closer look, because the angles that you have to approach the pass from behind with the minecart are somewhat limited when you're against a longer cart. If you're ahead as the minecart, you feel amazing, but if you're behind, it can be a little bit more difficult to get that final pass through on the last turn of rickety rails.
Yeah, generally the meta here, and especially in speed mode, is, you know, you want to pick the cart with the smallest hitbox, because carts are, for all intents and purposes, otherwise equal. You know, if you're in a minecart, you're going to have less collisions, you're able to take tighter lines, but, you know, Luning coming in there with a tour bus, he's able to take not only those tight turns, but also once he gets that lead, with his control, he's not going to give it up.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. It's like, to put it into words, the difference between winning and losing for this match for both these teams is so massive, because there's one extra game has been played for Sensation, as we talked about before. And so now they've lost their 4th match. So they're 1-4. They played 5 of the 7 matches you get to play, because it's a round robin with 8 teams. Each team plays 7 games. And then on the other side, you have a team that expectations were extremely low on. Everyone was like, okay, I mean, we'll see how they do. Like, some of these players seem very talented. Kosu's come back. How's he going to perform? People were excited for him because he's been one of the staples of Kartrider for basically the last decade. And his best years were 2019, right? Basically, 2019, you could say like 2018, he was on the rise. But now he's coming back. He's doing well. This team looks really good with him. And it's like expected team to do well versus underdog team that has no pressure. And then they collide in this final match. And now the hope is really high for ReBoot to actually make playoffs. You know, they're competing with the likes of teams like Aura and Rox and Planet, I think, in those slots there. And anything could happen. This season felt like, to me, I was like, okay, well, it's preseason, so you have some really strong teams with really strong players, and because the game isn't that figured out yet, they'll probably win the first preseason. It might be like less interesting than when we go into our second preseason, for example.
Right.
But I think that some of these matches we've seen, especially today and on Wednesday, have really like flipped the narrative. You know, anyone could win on the day.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Sensation with 1-4. You got to think that they're going to go back to the drawing board after this preseason, you know, before the KDL officially kicks off. Because as things are right now, this 4-man roster, it is not working out for them. You know, in speed overall, even including the games today, they have a positive win rate in tracks. I mean, that should be translating into success. It should not be translating into, what, a 1-3, 1-4 total overall score that we have from them. And, you know, I have to think that at some point, ideally before the next season, they're going to be adding, you know, an item ace to come in here and kind of round things out, because if they have a play caller, like if they pick up, you know, their own kind of banana, then maybe we see them not going to these ace matches where everything's on the line and one mistake is the difference between winning or losing an entire set.
Yeah. They haven't played against Planet yet, so that's one of their final opponents. They've lost to Live Sandbox and Guangdong Freaks, right? So no shame in that.
Right.
They beat Aura. Hojun was able to beat Hero in that very clutch ace match. But I think the loss to Finale is the one that stings the most, because that was a team that was winless. You saw the big upset come through there. Once again, in item mode, Banana is able to carry them through. And they were so close to actually winning item mode and preventing the ace. Then they lose the ace, right? And so on some level, you know, you could look at the numbers of Sensation and be like, well, this is a team that's very, very, very hard underperforming. I think that's to a certain extent true, and the item mode is definitely a glaring weakness. But on the other hand, I think a lot of teams are doing better than we expected. And so Sensation's failings, I think, are less about their weaknesses, but rather the strengths of some of the other teams. I think the surprises we've seen so far in KDL, to me.
Absolutely. And I mean, that goes without saying there in the ace matches. You know, if you take on the Emperor and you beat him there, in the final match with everything on the line, I mean, we're talking about somebody with so many Kartrider League victories, so many championships to his name. You know, the GOAT of OG Kartrider, undisputed GOAT, coming in. You know, he's experienced there on stage. And you could see from the energy of the team how excited they were, how hyped Luning was to actually go through. You know he must have been nervous coming in there. And guys, we're going to be coming back in just a few minutes with our next team match of the day. Don't go anywhere.